Hello, dear friends and followers. Today we're embarking on an inspiring and emotional journey with Amara Davis, a young woman who seemed to have it all. Born into the affluent Davis family in Atlanta, Amara grew up amidst luxury, surrounded by the values of hard work, respect, and community. Her life was set on a promising path, with a bright future ahead, as she prepared to take on greater responsibilities in the family business. But fate had other plans. One summer, Amara faced a sudden health crisis, leading to a challenging diagnosis of a rare autoimmune disease. Her life took an unexpected turn as she traveled to Switzerland for intensive treatment. Amidst the pain, loneliness, and transformation, Amara discovered the depth of her inner strength and resilience. From the darkest moments to the rays of hope and recovery, her story is a testament to courage and personal growth. Join us as we explore Amara's emotional journey from the heights of her successful beginnings to the depths of her struggle and eventual rediscovery of herself. It's a powerful narrative of perseverance and renewal that you won't want to miss. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Our story begins with Amara Davis, a remarkable individual who grew up enveloped in the opulence that money could provide. Born in the vibrant city of Atlanta, Georgia, Amara was the cherished only child of Charles and Evelyn Davis, a couple whose name was synonymous with both affluence and respect within the community. The Davises were not just wealthy, they were among the most esteemed and influential Black families in the region, and their presence was felt in both the social and economic fabric of Atlanta. Charles Davis was a towering figure in the business world, a magnate whose empire included several successful enterprises. Among them was Davis Financial, a prestigious banking institution with a network of branches extending across various states in the U.S. His business acumen was matched only by his reputation for leadership and innovation. Evelyn Davis, his wife, was equally distinguished in her own right. She was a celebrated philanthropist, known far and wide for her deep involvement in charitable causes. Her efforts were particularly focused on uplifting and supporting the Black community, driven by a profound commitment to social justice and equality. The Davis Mansion, their sprawling estate situated in the exclusive enclave of Buckhead, was nothing short of a marvel. Its grandeur was reflected in the meticulously manicured gardens, the opulent interiors, and the team of dedicated staff who ensured that every aspect of the property was maintained to the highest standards. It was a residence that spoke of luxury and refinement, a true testament to the family's success. Yet amidst this world of affluence, Amara Davis was nurtured with a strong foundation of values. Her parents, despite their immense wealth, placed a great emphasis on the importance of hard work, respect, and dignity. They were revered not only for their financial success, but also for their unwavering integrity and their dedicated service to the community. Through their example, Amara learned that true worth extends beyond material wealth and lies in the impact one has on the world and the principles one upholds. Amara, never forget where you came from, Charles would often say, his voice echoing through the imposing hallways of Davis Financial. The bank, with its gleaming marble floors and high ceilings, was more than just a place of business to him. It was a monument to the values he wanted to instill in his daughter. He frequently took her there to observe the intricate workings of the enterprise, hoping she would absorb more than just the mechanics of business. Money can buy many things, he would continue, but it doesn't buy respect that you have to earn. Amara listened intently, her admiration for her father's wisdom growing with each lesson. By the age of 20, Amara was a bright, driven young woman poised to take on greater responsibilities within the family business. She was pursuing a degree in business administration at one of the nation's top universities and diligently interning in various departments at the bank during her school breaks. Her future seemed bright and full of promise, with every step she took seeming to lead toward a successful career in the family's legacy. However, that promising trajectory took a sudden and unexpected turn one fateful summer. Amara began to experience a troubling and unusual fatigue that no amount of rest could alleviate. At first, she attributed it to the intense pressure of her studies and the demands of her internship. Yet as weeks passed, other troubling symptoms began to surface. Persistent pain and unexplained weight loss became frequent visitors in her life, causing her growing concern. Despite her best efforts to ignore the signs and push through, her mother, Evelyn, noticed the growing distress in her daughter. "Amara, this isn't just stress, you need to see a doctor," Evelyn insisted, her voice laced with genuine worry. "I know, Mom. I'm just a bit busy right now, but I promise I'll make an appointment soon," Amara reassured her, though the worry in her voice betrayed her growing unease. Eventually, Evelyn's persistence paid off, and Amara underwent a series of comprehensive medical tests. The results were devastating. Amara had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease that required intensive and specialized treatment. The only facility equipped to handle her condition was a renowned medical center in Switzerland. The news was a crushing blow to the family, shaking them to their core. Charles and Evelyn, unwavering in their commitment to their daughter's well-being, moved heaven and earth to ensure that Amara received the finest care available, demonstrating their boundless love and dedication in the face of this unforeseen crisis. Within a few weeks, the Davis family had made all the necessary arrangements, and Amara prepared to leave for Switzerland, a journey that would take her far from the life she had always known. On the eve of her departure, the family gathered for a special farewell dinner, seated around the grand mahogany table in their elegantly appointed dining room. The table, often a place of joyous family gatherings, now seemed to bear the weight of their collective anxiety. Charles, Evelyn, and Amara tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but the gravity of the situation was unmistakable. Charles reached out, gently clasping Amara's hand in his. His voice, though steady, carried a deep undercurrent of emotion. "We'll get through this together, my love," he said, his eyes reflecting both his pride and his concern. "You're strong, and we'll be with you every step of the way." Amara, her gaze locked with her father's, felt a surge of gratitude and resolve. "I know, Dad, I'll fight with all my strength, and when I come back, I'll be ready to continue our legacy." Her words, spoken with a fierce determination, were a testament to her inner strength and the unyielding support she drew from her family. Evelyn, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, attempted to offer a reassuring smile. "And we'll be here waiting for you, Amara," she said, her voice tinged with a mixture of hope and sorrow. Her love and support were evident, even as she struggled to keep her emotions in check. Later that night, as Amara packed her belongings into her suitcase, she took a moment to reflect on the life she was leaving behind. Each item she folded and placed in her bag represented a piece of her world, her family, her friends, her academic pursuits, and the bright future she had envisioned. The enormity of the upcoming challenge loomed large, but she drew comfort from the unwavering support of her parents and the resilience she had cultivated within herself. Standing by her bedroom window, Amara gazed out at the familiar Atlanta skyline, the city lights casting a gentle glow against the night sky. As she took in the view one last time, she made a silent promise to herself: no matter how arduous the journey ahead might be, she would return stronger and more determined than ever. The horizon, though distant, symbolized not just the end of an era, but the beginning of a new chapter in her life, filled with hope and resolve to overcome the challenges she faced. The journey to Switzerland marked the beginning of a profound and challenging new chapter in Amara's life. As the airplane soared through the sky, Amara felt a tumultuous mix of anxiety and determination. The vast, unknown horizon that lay ahead was both intimidating and uncertain, but she was resolute in her commitment to face the trials with unwavering courage. Upon landing in Geneva, Amara was met by a highly specialized medical team who escorted her to a treatment center nestled in a quaint town in the Swiss Alps. The center, renowned for its cutting-edge treatments, was situated amidst breathtaking natural beauty, a stark contrast to the personal battle she was about to face. The first few weeks were exceptionally grueling. The treatment regimen, which combined experimental medications with rigorous therapies, proved to be both physically and emotionally draining. Each day was consumed by consultations, diagnostic tests, and extended treatment sessions, leaving Amara feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. The isolation of the Swiss Alps, while picturesque, only intensified the sense of loneliness she felt during the nights. The solitude seemed to amplify the weight of her illness, and the nights were often the hardest, filled with quiet moments of reflection and doubt. On one particularly arduous day, after a grueling treatment session that left her both physically and emotionally spent, Amara received a phone call from her mother. Evelyn's soft and soothing voice was a balm to Amara's weary soul. "Amara, my dear, how are you feeling today?" Evelyn asked, her voice laced with concern, despite her efforts to remain upbeat. Amara hesitated for a moment before responding, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "Today was a tough day, Mom. Sometimes I feel like I don't know if I can get through this." Her words carried the weight of her struggle, the fatigue that seemed to press down on her resolve. "I know it's hard, sweetheart," Evelyn replied gently, her voice filled with warmth and reassurance. "But remember, you're not alone. Your father and I think about you every moment, and you're stronger than you realize. Don't forget that." Her words were a lifeline for Amara, providing a glimmer of hope and comfort amid her trials. Those words from her mother were precisely what Amara needed to hear at that moment. Despite the immense difficulties and the physical strain, she found renewed strength in the knowledge that her parents were with her in spirit. Each day, she strived to muster the inner fortitude to persevere, even when her body seemed to rebel against her determination. The journey ahead remained daunting, but with each passing day, Amara continued to fight, fueled by the love and encouragement that bridged the distance between her and home. As the months passed, the impact of the treatment started to reveal itself in ways Amara hadn't anticipated. Once proud of her appearance and confident in her vibrant health, she began to experience profound changes in her body. Her thick, lustrous hair, which had always been a symbol of her vitality, started to fall out in clumps. The radiant complexion she had once taken for granted grew pale and blotchy, marred by the harsh side effects of the medication. On a particularly cold winter night, Amara stood before the mirror in her modest Swiss bathroom, struggling to come to terms with the image that greeted her. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. As she gazed at her reflection, the sight was almost unrecognizable. The person staring back at her was a stark contrast to the lively young woman who had departed from Atlanta full of dreams and confidence. Her hand trembled as it glided over her nearly bald head, and a deep sigh escaped her lips. The mirror revealed not just physical changes but also the profound sense of loss she felt. "Who am I now?" she whispered, the question carrying the weight of both her physical and emotional struggles. She was grieving not only the decline in her health, but also a part of her identity that seemed to be slipping away. In her distress, Amara reached out to her father, seeking solace in the middle of the night. The phone call was a lifeline. "Dad, I don't know how to handle this," she said, her voice breaking with emotion. "I feel so different, so lost." On the other end of the line, Charles paused, carefully considering his response. His words, when they came, were filled with reassurance and love. "Amara, you will always be our daughter, regardless of how you feel or how you look on the outside. What truly matters is what's within you, the strength, intelligence, and love that have always defined you. Those qualities make you who you are, and nothing can ever take them away from you." Amara's tears flowed freely as her father's comforting words resonated deeply with her. "I will keep fighting, Dad, for you and me," she vowed, drawing strength from his unwavering support. As time moved forward, The harshness of winter began to give way to the hopeful signs of spring. Despite the ongoing treatment and the many challenges it brought, Amara started to observe subtle improvements in her condition. The road to recovery was fraught with ups and downs, yet there was a flicker of hope that things were getting better. The doctors noted positive changes, and Amara began to sense a gradual, albeit slow, improvement in her overall health. The journey, however, was not just a physical battle. It demanded mental and emotional resilience as well. Amara was learning to adapt to a new version of herself, one she was still struggling to fully accept. Amidst these trials, she found solace and strength in the friendships she formed at the treatment center. Among them was Marie, a slightly older French woman also undergoing treatment. Marie's presence offered Amara a sense of camaraderie and support, helping her navigate the difficult days with a shared understanding and empathy. On a radiant afternoon, while strolling through the lush gardens that were beginning to bloom with the colors of spring, Marie gently sought to uplift Amara's spirits. The warmth of the sun cast a golden glow over their path, and Marie's voice, tinged with a slight French accent, carried a note of wisdom. "You know, Amara," she began thoughtfully, "we are not merely defined by what we lose in life. Rather, we are shaped by how we choose to live in the face of those losses." Amara, who had been quietly reflecting, turned to Marie, her eyes reflecting the sincerity of her friend's words. After a moment of contemplation, she replied, "Perhaps you're right, Marie. It seems like it's time for me to embrace this new version of myself and see where this journey leads me." That conversation marked a significant turning point for Amara. Though her battle was far from over, she started to perceive her journey through a renewed perspective. It was no longer merely a struggle against the illness, but a profound opportunity to rediscover herself and to grow in ways she had never anticipated. Despite the uncertainty of the future, she held on to the hope that she would emerge from this experience stronger and, perhaps, as a more enriched version of herself. The months that followed were a complex tapestry of progress and setbacks. Amara continued with her treatment, navigating through the emotional and physical ups and downs with a resilience that both astonished and inspired her. Her time at the Swiss Medical Center, nestled amidst the majestic Alps, became a period of profound reflection and solitude. The serene environment offered her a space for introspection, though it also highlighted the solitude she faced. This period of her life was marked by a transformation that extended beyond the physical. It was a transformation of the mind and spirit as well. One afternoon, Amara gazed out from her room's window, watching as the last remnants of snow melted away to reveal the vibrant green of spring. The change in season mirrored the transformation within her. Her body, now leaner and more fragile, seemed almost foreign to her. Yet it was her mind that was undergoing the most significant metamorphosis. Amara found herself deep in the process of acceptance. There were days when she felt empowered and ready to tackle any challenge that came her way. However, there were also moments filled with doubt and fear that seemed insurmountable. During one such moment of reflection, Dr. Meyer, her primary physician, entered the room for a routine checkup. Dr. Meyer, a middle-aged man known for his calm demeanor and gentle voice, always managed to offer Amara a sense of reassurance. His presence was a comforting anchor amidst the turbulent seas of her emotional journey. "How are you feeling today, Amara?" he asked, his eyes reflecting concern as he studied her closely. Amara sighed deeply, her gaze shifting reluctantly from the window to meet the doctor's. Her weariness was palpable, both physical and emotional. "Dr. Meyer, it's incredibly difficult to come to terms with all these changes and accept that I might never be the same person I once was," she confessed, her voice tinged with fatigue and sorrow. Dr. Meyer nodded sympathetically, his expression full of understanding. "I can see how challenging this is for you. The treatment you're undergoing is indeed intense, and yes, it does alter you not just in how you look, but fundamentally from the inside out. However, It's important to remember that these changes can also bring new forms of strength and insight that you might not have discovered yet. Amara's eyes filled with a mixture of hope and desperation. "But how can I come to accept myself like this?" she questioned, her voice cracking slightly. "I can barely recognize myself anymore. What if I never feel like my true self again?" "Doctor." Meyer offered a reassuring smile. "You will always remain who you truly are," he said gently. What it means to be yourself might evolve, though. Think of this as a kind of metamorphosis. The process can be painful, but it often results in something stronger and more resilient. Remember, the essence of who you are, your core values, your memories, your love for life, none of that is lost or diminished. His words seemed to strike a chord with Amara. Though it was hard to fully grasp, there was a certain undeniable truth in what he was saying. She was indeed transforming, but that didn't necessarily mean she was losing her identity. Instead, she might be evolving into a deeper and perhaps more genuine version of herself. A few days later, on a bright and clear morning, Amara was pleasantly surprised by an unexpected visit. Marie, her French friend whom she had met at the center, stood at her room's door with a warm smile and a proposal. "Amara, let's go for a walk. The sun is shining beautifully today, and I think some fresh air and a change of scenery could do us both some good," Marie suggested, her eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. Amara hesitated for a moment, torn between her desire to stay in the comfort of her room and the need to escape her confined space. Ultimately, she agreed, recognizing that a brief departure from her routine might be beneficial. As they strolled along the mountain trails surrounding the center, Marie engaged Amara in light-hearted conversation, skillfully drawing her attention away from the darker thoughts that had been weighing heavily on her mind. "Have you given any thought to what you'll do when you finally return home?" Marie asked, her eyes drifting over the distant snow-capped mountains, their serene beauty juxtaposed with the storm of thoughts swirling in Amara's mind. Amara fell silent, her gaze fixed on the majestic peaks that seemed so far away from her current reality. "Honestly, I'm overwhelmed with fear about going back. What am I supposed to do when I get there? I feel like people won't even recognize me anymore. Sometimes I struggle to recognize myself." Marie, sensing the depth of Amara's anxiety, stopped walking and gently turned Amara to face her. Placing her hands firmly on Amara's shoulders, she spoke with a reassuring intensity. "Amara, you are an extraordinary woman. These changes you're going through don't define who you are. Your essence, what makes you uniquely you, is still very much intact. Sometimes we have to lose something we hold dear to truly discover what matters most. Perhaps when you go back, you'll uncover new paths and ways to live more authentically, embracing this evolved version of yourself." Marie's words resonated deeply with Amara as they resumed their walk. Gradually, Amara began to grasp that, despite the changes she was undergoing, there were fundamental aspects of herself that remained unchanged. Her deep love for her family, her unwavering determination, and her quest for meaning were still very much present. As Marie had suggested, maybe this journey was leading her to discover new ways to live a life that embraced her new self while still honoring her core values. As the weeks passed and her treatment continued, Amara noticed a gradual improvement in her condition. The relentless pain began to wane, and she found herself regaining some of her lost energy. The physical changes were still evident, but she began to view them differently. They became symbols of her struggle and resilience, battle scars that told a story of endurance and strength. In one of her final therapy sessions, Dr. Miller reviewed her progress with a smile of genuine satisfaction. "Amara, you've been an exceptional patient throughout this process. I'm pleased to inform you that the treatment is showing great results. We can soon begin discussing your plans for returning home." The words from Dr. Miller brought a complex mix of relief and apprehension to Amara. The prospect of returning to Atlanta filled her with anticipation. Yet she understood that this return would mark the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter where she would need to confront not only how others might perceive her, but also how she would come to terms with her own evolving identity. "I'm ready," Amara declared, her voice steady but tinged with determination. "I know I still have a long way to go, but I'm prepared to come back. Whatever awaits me at home, I believe I can handle it." Her gaze met Dr. Miller's with a resolute calmness. Dr. Miller's expression softened into a reassuring smile, one that reflected both pride and encouragement. "That's the Amara I've always known," he said. "Remember, what you've undergone here isn't just a series of treatments, it's been a profound transformation. This is not the end, but rather the start of a new journey, and you are more than equipped to face it." As Amara prepared to leave Switzerland, she felt a tumultuous blend of emotions. There was a palpable sadness in departing from a place that had played a significant role in her transformation, a place where she had faced challenges and discovered strength she didn't know she had. Yet she was equally eager to reunite with her family and see how the person she had become would integrate into her previous life. Though she understood that the world she was returning to would be markedly different from the one she had left, she felt a tentative hope that this change might not necessarily be a negative one. The flight back was smooth, but as the plane descended towards Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta, Amara's heart was a flutter of anticipation and nervousness. Through the window, she watched the familiar sights of her hometown come into view, the landscape bathed in the golden light of a clear, sunny day. Despite the warmth of the sun, a chill settled in her stomach, a stark reminder of the uncertainty she felt. She was home, yet she couldn't escape the sensation of being an outsider in a world that once felt so familiar. As the passengers began to disembark, Amara took a deep, steadying breath, preparing herself for the journey that lay ahead. The past few months in Switzerland had been a grueling battle, a continuous test of endurance and resolve, but she understood that the true challenge was only just beginning. The transformation she had undergone was not limited to her physical appearance, it had also touched her emotional and mental state. Now, she faced the daunting task of integrating this evolved version of herself back into her previous life. As Amara finally emerged from the gate, her eyes instantly met those of her parents. Charles and Davis stood there, their faces a mixture of relief and deep emotion. The sight of them brought a surge of warmth and familiarity. They moved swiftly towards her, their concern for her well-being overriding any notice of the changes in her appearance. To them, Amara was, and always would be, the beloved daughter they cherished. Evelyn, with tears shimmering in her eyes, enveloped Amara in a heartfelt embrace. "My dear Amara," she said, her voice trembling with emotion, "we're so incredibly happy to have you back with us." Amara felt a lump form in her throat as she held her mother close. "I'm happy to be home too, Mom," she managed to say, her voice thick with tears. "I've missed you both so much." Charles, who typically expressed himself with few words, wrapped both Amara and Evelyn in a comforting hug. "You're incredibly strong, my daughter," he said quietly but firmly. "We are immensely proud of you." The drive back to their home was a quiet journey, yet filled with an undercurrent of powerful emotions. Amara looked out the window, observing the familiar Atlanta landscape as it passed by. The city that had once been her entire world now appeared both comforting and alien. It was a place where she had grown up, but she was acutely aware that both the city and she had transformed in her absence. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Upon arriving at the Davis mansion, Amara hesitated at the threshold, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. The grandeur of the mansion and the memories it held seemed to stand still in time, as if no time had passed at all. Yet she knew that returning to her previous life wasn't an option. The person she had become during her time away was not one she could simply set aside. The mansion was familiar, steeped in history and personal significance, but it now represented a new chapter in her life, one in which she would have to navigate and redefine her place in a world that had changed around her. "Amara, dear, we understand that adjusting to these changes might take some time," Evelyn said gently, noticing the hesitation in her daughter's eyes. "We're here for you every step of the way. There's no need to rush. Take all the time you need." "Thank you, Mom," Amara replied, her voice carrying a mixture of relief and gratitude. "I appreciate your support. I just need some time to process everything." As the days passed, Amara gradually began to settle into her new routine at home. She immersed herself in reading, enjoyed strolls through the gardens, and started to rediscover the city she had always loved. Despite the comfort and encouragement from her family, a sense of disorientation lingered. The changes in her appearance continued to be a source of discomfort, and she found herself avoiding mirrors and trying not to dwell on what she felt she had lost. One evening during dinner, Charles broached a topic that surprised Amara. "Amara, I know you're still in the midst of recovery," he began, his tone both gentle and earnest. "But I think it's time for you to start thinking about coming back to the bank. We have some inheritance matters that need addressing, and it could be beneficial for you to get involved again." Amara looked at her father, a mixture of surprise and apprehension in her expression. "Do you think I'm ready for that, Dad? I'm not sure if I'm the same person I was before." Charles met her gaze with a reassuring smile, though his eyes held a serious undertone. "You will always be my daughter, Amara. What has changed is your experience and your strength. Those changes have only enhanced your capabilities. I'm not asking you to return to the bank as you were before, but to bring with you the new perspective you've gained. I'm confident that this fresh outlook will be valuable." Evelyn, sitting beside Charles, nodded in agreement. "I echo your father's sentiments. We want you to feel integrated into the family business, but we also respect your timeline. This might be a good opportunity for you to begin reconnecting with your role at your own pace." Amara pondered the proposal, her mind weighed down by a mixture of hesitation and resolve. The prospect of returning to the bank, once a cornerstone of her daily life, now felt like a monumental challenge. The place that had once been a second home now loomed as a symbol of her past, its familiarity tainted by the passage of time and change. Nevertheless, deep down, Amara understood the necessity of confronting this shift in her reality. Running away wasn't a viable option. She needed to embrace this new chapter and determine her place within it. After a few moments of contemplation, Amara finally broke the silence. "All right," she said, her voice steady despite the apprehension she felt. "I'll visit the bank tomorrow to see what needs to be addressed. I just ask that you bear with me and exercise a bit of patience." Charles, visibly relieved and gratified by his daughter's decision, responded with warmth and support. "Of course, my dear," he said, his eyes reflecting his pride and encouragement. "We're here for you every step of the way. Just remember, you're not alone in this." The next morning arrived with crisp clarity, and Amara awoke early, her heart fluttering with a nervousness she hadn't felt in quite some time. She carefully selected her attire, opting for a simple yet elegant dress. Although she knew that the importance of appearance was minimal compared to the task at hand, she hoped that presenting herself confidently would help bolster her resolve. Upon arriving at the bank, Amara was struck by the paradox of the situation. The setting was both reassuringly familiar and oddly alien. The glass walls, polished marble floors, and neatly arranged desks were exactly as she remembered, yet the environment felt strangely new to her. Every detail seemed to mock her uncertainty as she walked through the doors with deliberate steps, trying her best to ignore the curious glances of the employees. At the reception desk, the receptionist greeted her with a polite, if somewhat skeptical, demeanor. "Can I assist you, ma'am?" the receptionist inquired, her tone courteous but tinged with a hint of doubt. "Yes, I'm Amara Davis," she responded, maintaining a calm and composed voice despite her inner turmoil. "I'm here to discuss some matters with the bank's attorneys." The receptionist's hesitation was palpable, and Amara could see the confusion flickering in her eyes. "Miss Davis," she said after a brief pause, "I'm sorry, but I wasn't aware of your appointment for today. Please hold on a moment while I verify this information." Amara's sense of unease grew as she waited at the reception desk. The receptionist, with a hint of confusion in her eyes, picked up the phone to verify Amara's sudden arrival. Moments later, one of the managers approached, his expression mirroring the receptionist's surprise. "Miss Davis, welcome," he said, his voice carrying a mix of surprise and politeness. "We weren't expecting you today." "Hello," Amara replied, extending her hand for a handshake. "I realize this is rather abrupt, but I need to discuss some details related to the family business and inheritance matters." The manager's eyes displayed a flicker of curiosity, but he quickly masked it with a nod. "Certainly. Please follow me. I'll get you settled." As Amara followed the manager through the bank's corridors, she couldn't help but notice the changes that had taken place in her absence. The conversations that filled the air, the advanced technology in use, and the unfamiliar faces all seemed foreign to her. It was evident that the environment had evolved significantly while she was away. Despite the stark contrasts and the weight of the task ahead, Amara was resolute. She had decided to confront this challenge head-on and was determined to see it through to the end. Upon reaching the conference room, she was greeted by the bank's attorneys. The meeting was intended to be comprehensive, covering the intricate details of her family's assets, the recent policy changes, and the complex legal procedures that would be necessary. The attorneys, though professional, offered a supportive demeanor that helped ease some of Amara's apprehension. They patiently explained each aspect of the process, guiding her through the labyrinth of paperwork and legal jargon. As the hours passed, Amara found the sheer volume of information both enlightening and overwhelming. The complexity of the discussions, coupled with the gravity of her family's financial situation, weighed heavily on her. Nevertheless, she listened intently, absorbing every detail she could. The attorney's thorough explanations and empathetic approach provided her with a clearer understanding of what lay ahead. By the end of the day, Amara was mentally drained but felt a sense of accomplishment. She had taken a significant first step back into the realm of her past responsibilities. Despite the challenges and the emotional toll, she handled the day's events with a commendable poise. As she made her way to her car, she took a moment to reflect on the day's events. The path ahead was fraught with difficulties, but Amara was resolute in her commitment to navigate this transition with determination and grace. The following days unfolded as a delicate dance of reconciling Amara's new self with the remnants of her old life. Each morning, she immersed herself in the rhythms of the family business, attending meetings at the bank and gradually reacquainting herself with the intricacies of her role. The process was far from straightforward. It was a labyrinth of challenges that she confronted with a resilience born from her recent trials. Every interaction, every decision, demanded a new kind of navigation as she adjusted to her transformed appearance and the shifting expectations of those around her. Each day was a lesson in adaptability, a continuous journey of self-discovery where the boundaries of her past and present blurred. Amara's return to Atlanta was not merely a matter of resuming her position within the family business. It was a profound quest to rediscover her sense of purpose and place in a world that had changed irrevocably. Embracing her transformation was not an easy task. It involved accepting the new realities of her life and finding innovative ways to forge a meaningful existence within them. The road ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but Amara approached it with newfound courage, bolstered by the unwavering support of her family and the inner strength she had cultivated through her experiences. Charles looked at his daughter with a softened gaze, his heart aching with empathy. "I understand, my daughter," he said, his voice filled with concern and understanding. But you must realize that this situation extends beyond what happened to you today. It speaks to a deeper issue of respect and dignity. They disrespected you, and we cannot let that pass without consequence." Amara met his gaze with unwavering resolve. "I know, Dad," she replied firmly. "But if we're going to take legal action against the bank, it has to be about more than just financial restitution or punishment. I want this to be a statement about the respect that individuals undergoing profound changes deserve. We should stand against suspicion and discrimination. Not just for me, but for everyone who faces such struggles." Evelyn's eyes shone with pride as she observed her daughter's determination and maturity. "We'll approach this with the right intentions," Amara, she assured her. "You have every right to seek justice, but let's ensure that this fight represents something greater. It should be a stand for respect and understanding." In the days that followed, the Davis family's legal team worked tirelessly, dedicating their efforts to preparing a comprehensive case against the bank. They meticulously gathered and reviewed all relevant evidence, including security camera footage and testimonies from employees involved in the incident. The legal team also began exploring the possibility of filing a lawsuit for discrimination and civil rights violations, determined to hold the bank accountable for the injustices faced by Amara and to set a precedent for others in similar situations. Amara, determined not to remain passive in her quest for justice, resolved to take her fight beyond the courtroom. She felt a profound urge to share her journey, not merely as an isolated incident, but as a powerful testament to the broader struggles faced by those marginalized due to their appearance or health conditions. She aimed to illustrate the depth of her transformation and highlight the urgent need for societal change towards greater acceptance and empathy. "I want to speak publicly about what happened," Amara declared resolutely during a meeting with her parents and legal team. Her voice was steady, but her eyes reflected the intensity of her conviction. "I believe people must understand that my struggle is not just my own but represents the collective battle of everyone who endures discrimination because of their appearance or health issues." One of the lawyers, his face etched with concern, raised a cautionary note. "Amara, are you certain about this decision? Going public will undoubtedly draw a significant amount of attention, and unfortunately, not all of it will be favorable." Without a trace of doubt in her voice, Amara responded, "I'm sure. If sharing my story can shift perceptions and improve the way people treat others, then it will have been worth every bit of the difficulty." Her mother, Evelyn, who had steadfastly supported her through every challenge, voiced her agreement. "Amara is right. This is a pivotal moment to effect real change. We must ensure that her story is conveyed with the respect and clarity it deserves." With the unwavering support of her parents and the strategic guidance of her legal team, Amara set about organizing her public statement. She recognized that exposing her pain and vulnerability was not an easy task, but she was driven by the belief that transforming her negative experience into a beacon of hope and understanding was a worthwhile endeavor. A few weeks after the incident at the bank, on a cloudy morning that seemed to echo the gravity of the occasion, Amara prepared to address the world. Seated in a conference room, she was flanked by her parents, who stood as pillars of support, and a dedicated team of lawyers and advisors. The room was equipped with cameras and microphones, ready to capture every word as Amara took a deep breath, ready to share her story and advocate for change. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. As the stage lights flickered to life and the camera lens zoomed in, Amara Davis inhaled deeply, steadying herself for the moment she had been anticipating. "My name is Amara Davis," she began, her voice unwavering yet laced with raw emotion. "Today, I'm not just here to recount the events that happened to me. I'm here to delve into the deeper issue of being judged solely on one's appearance, especially when that appearance is the result of battling for survival." She recounted her time in Switzerland, where a life-saving treatment had not only preserved her life but also left her irrevocably altered. Amara spoke of the anxiety that gnawed at her as she prepared to return home, fearing that the world she knew might no longer recognize or accept her. With vivid detail, she described the painful encounter at the bank, a place that had once felt familiar and secure, where she was met with cold indifference and treated like an outsider, simply because she no longer looked the same. "I was rejected because my appearance had changed," Amara continued, her voice resonating in the silence that filled the room. "But the core of who I am, my essence, remains unchanged. This is what I need everyone to understand. People who endure illness and experience profound physical transformations are no less deserving of respect and kindness. They should be treated with the same dignity as anyone else." She paused, her gaze locking onto the camera, as if willing her words to reach the hearts of those watching. "Yes, I am seeking justice for what happened to me, but more importantly, I am advocating for change. I want people to understand that respect and acceptance should never be contingent upon someone's appearance. Instead, they should stem from an acknowledgement of the shared humanity that binds us all. If sharing my story can shift perspectives and inspire a change in how we treat one another, then this struggle will have been worth it." When she finished speaking, the room was enveloped in a heavy silence that lingered for a heartbeat longer than she expected. It was as if everyone was absorbing the weight of her words, letting them settle before they responded. Then, slowly at first, a ripple of applause began, growing into a thunderous ovation. Amara stood there, a mixture of relief and resolve washing over her. She knew the road ahead was still fraught with challenges. There would be obstacles and battles yet to face, but in that powerful moment, she felt as though she had taken her first real step towards something far more significant than any courtroom victory. She had found her voice and realized its potential to spark change. That was a strength, a force, that no one could strip away from her. As she exited the conference room, Evelyn was there waiting, her arms open wide. She pulled Amara into a tight, emotional embrace, her voice trembling with pride. "I'm so proud of you, Amara. You were incredible." "Thanks, Mom," Amara replied, a smile breaking through the tension that had gripped her for weeks. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a lightness in her chest, a sense of hope. "I just hope it's enough to make a real difference." Charles, who had been a pillar of strength throughout, stood nearby, his usually composed face softened by emotion. His eyes shone with unspoken pride as he stepped forward and placed a reassuring hand on his daughter's shoulder. "You've already made a difference, Amara. The world is listening, and we'll make sure your voice continues to be heard." In the days following Amara's courageous public statement, it felt as though the world around her had shifted. Her story, once private and painful, quickly became a national headline, spreading across newspapers, television broadcasts, and social media platforms. Her words resonated with countless individuals who had faced similar trials, sparking a movement of support and solidarity that she never anticipated. Messages of encouragement poured in from people she had never met, strangers who found strength in her courage. Yet, with the newfound attention came an inevitable wave of scrutiny. While many rallied behind her, others questioned her motives. Doubters emerged, some accusing her of fabricating the story for fame or financial gain, while others simply refused to believe her narrative. The backlash was fierce, and at times disheartening. Back at the Davis mansion, Amara grappled with this new and overwhelming reality. She had anticipated consequences when she decided to go public, but the sheer intensity of the reaction, both the outpouring of support and the harsh criticism, left her feeling unsteady. The weight of it all was immense, but deep down, she knew there was no turning back. She had leaped, and now she had to navigate the path she had chosen, no matter how daunting it seemed. Amara sat quietly in the dimly lit living room, the soft hum of the clock on the wall a constant reminder of the passing time. She looked across at her mother, Evelyn, who was sitting beside her with that familiar expression of concern that Amara had grown to recognize all too well. The weight of the past few months had taken its toll, and the burden was becoming increasingly hard to bear. "I knew it would be difficult," Amara finally confessed, her voice barely above a whisper as she stared at her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "But I never imagined that people could be so cruel. Some of the messages I receive, they're not just negative, Mom. They're downright hateful. It's almost impossible to block them out." Evelyn, who had always been Amara's rock, reached out and gently took her daughter's hand in hers. Her touch was warm and reassuring, a stark contrast to the coldness of the words that had been haunting Amara. "My dear," Evelyn began, her voice steady and full of the wisdom that comes from years of experience, "what you did took tremendous courage. You stood up for something that mattered, something that needed to be addressed. And when you do that, there will always be those who try to tear you down. But you must remember, Amara, that the voices of those you're helping, the ones who understand and appreciate your bravery, are far louder and more important than any criticism you may face." Amara nodded, trying to take comfort in her mother's words, but the pain was still fresh. "I know you're right, Mom," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But it still hurts so much. I feel like I'm being punished for something I have no control over. I didn't choose to be sick, and I certainly didn't choose these changes that have come with it. It's like I'm being attacked for just existing." Evelyn's gaze softened as she looked into her daughter's weary eyes. "You didn't choose the illness," she said gently, "but you did choose how to respond to it. That choice, Amara, is what sets you apart. It shows your strength and your resilience. You may not have had control over what happened to you, but you took control of how you would face it. And that, my dear, is something no one can take away from you." As Amara sat there, absorbing the comfort her mother offered, a different kind of battle was being waged in another part of the house. Charles, Amara's father, was in his study, surrounded by stacks of legal documents and notes. He had been working tirelessly to ensure that the lawsuit against the bank, which had refused Amara a loan on discriminatory grounds, would proceed without a hitch. He knew that this legal battle was about much more than just getting justice for his daughter. It was about sending a message to the world that discrimination, in any form, would not be tolerated. Late one evening, after another exhaustive meeting with the legal team, Charles emerged from his study and found Amara sitting alone in the kitchen, a half-finished cup of tea in front of her. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "The lawyers are ready," he told her, his voice firm with determination. "They believe we have a solid case for discrimination, and they're confident that we can win. But Amara, I need you to understand this is going to be a long, grueling fight. It won't be easy." If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Amara looked up at her father, a mix of exhaustion and resolve in her eyes. "I know, Dad," she replied quietly, but with a newfound determination in her voice. "I know this is going to be complicated, and I know it's going to take everything we have. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to fight this all the way, not just for me, but for everyone else who might be in the same position. We have to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." Charles responded with a deep, unmistakable pride in his voice. "I know you are, but I want you to remember something important. You don't have to carry this burden on your own. We're all here with you, every step of the way." As the lawsuit progressed, Amara found her days increasingly filled with a whirlwind of meetings with lawyers, interviews, and attempts to maintain some semblance of normalcy amidst the storm. The legal battle consumed her, yet as time passed, she began to sense that this fight was about much more than just the courtroom. It became an unexpected journey of self-discovery and a chance to reconnect with the world in a way she hadn't anticipated. One afternoon, as Amara was buried in documents with her legal team, An unexpected call came through. It was from a prominent civil rights organization that had heard about her case and was eager to meet with her. Amara, we're an organization dedicated to fighting against all forms of discrimination, the voice on the other end explained with genuine concern. Your story has deeply resonated with us, and we want to offer our support. We believe that by working together, we can transform your experience into a powerful platform for real, meaningful change. Amara was both surprised and moved by their outreach. I'd be honored to work with you, she replied, her voice filled with a mix of determination and hope. I truly believe that together, we can make a significant difference. When the day of the meeting arrived, Amara was greeted with warmth and enthusiasm by a diverse group of activists and community leaders. They gathered around her, discussing a range of strategies, awareness campaigns, and educational initiatives. Their goal was clear: to shed light on the unique challenges faced by individuals like Amara, who endure profound physical and emotional transformations due to illness or other life-altering circumstances. This collaboration marked the beginning of something bigger than Amara had ever imagined, a movement poised to create lasting change. We want to give a voice to those who are often ignored or marginalized, one of the organization's leaders passionately declared. Your story is a powerful testament to the fight for dignity and respect, and we are committed to amplifying that message to reach as many people as possible. As the weeks passed, Amara became increasingly integrated into the fabric of the organization. Together, they meticulously planned awareness campaigns, engaged in community events, and laid the groundwork for a support network designed to uplift others facing similar challenges. Amara also harnessed her growing platform to speak out about the vital importance of recognizing and respecting the humanity in every individual, regardless of their physical appearance or life circumstances. One day, during a particularly busy meeting at the organization's headquarters, Amara was introduced to a young woman who had traveled from another state just to meet her. The woman approached Amara with a mix of admiration and gratitude evident in her eyes. Amara. The young woman began, her voice trembling with emotion. I just wanted to thank you for everything you're doing. I, too, underwent a physical transformation due to an illness, and seeing someone like you who isn't afraid to stand up and fight for respect gives me the strength to keep going. Amara was deeply moved by the young woman's heartfelt words. Thank you for sharing your story with me, she replied, her voice soft but resolute. Knowing that my efforts can help even in the smallest way means more to me than you can imagine. It's everything I hoped for. This interaction with the young woman solidified Amara's commitment to her cause. She realized that while her legal battle with the bank was critical, the broader struggle for acceptance, dignity, and respect was equally, if not more important. As the legal proceedings continued, Amara found solace and strength in her expanding role within the civil rights organization. She reflected on how far she had come from the initial shock and pain of the incident with the bank to her emergence as a leading advocate for change. The journey had been anything but easy, filled with moments of doubt and adversity, yet with each challenge, Amara's resolve only grew stronger. Throughout the ups and downs, the unwavering support of her parents, the dedication of her legal team, and the newfound partnership with the civil rights organization kept Amara focused on her ultimate goal. She was determined to see her fight through to the end, not only to achieve justice for herself, but to ensure that her experience could be a catalyst for positive change in the world. Amara knew that her battle was not just her own, it was a fight for everyone who had ever been overlooked, dismissed, or dehumanized. And with each passing day, her influence and determination only continued to grow, lighting a path for others to follow. At the heart of the legal battle was more than just Amara's fight to be recognized as the legitimate daughter of the Davis family. It was also about challenging the deep-seated prejudice that countless individuals face daily. The bank's legal team attempted to undermine Amara's credibility, insinuating that she was masquerading as someone she was not, exploiting the changes in her appearance for financial gain. This baseless accusation not only infuriated Amara and her parents but also solidified their determination to press on with their case. "This is absolute nonsense," Amara burst out during a tense meeting with her legal team, her frustration palpable. "They know exactly who I am, but they're trying to discredit me because they think they can manipulate the situation to their advantage. They can't just sweep this blatant discrimination under the rug." One of the lawyers, maintaining a composed and professional demeanor, responded calmly, "I understand your anger, Amara, but this is part of their strategy. They want to provoke an emotional reaction from you, to make you appear irrational in court. We need to stay focused and use this to our advantage." Charles, who had been silently absorbing the conversation, finally spoke up, his voice filled with unwavering resolve. "We're not backing down, Amara. We will prove to them that the truth is on our side and that you are the rightful heir of the Davis family, regardless of any physical changes you've undergone." Evelyn, sitting close to Amara, reached out and gently stroked her daughter's arm, offering a quiet but powerful gesture of support. "They've underestimated you, Amara, and that will be their downfall," she said, her voice soft yet firm. As the night before her testimony drew near, Amara found herself in the mansion's garden, her eyes fixed on the stars above, seeking solace in their distant, unchanging light. Evelyn approached, sensing the quiet storm of emotions brewing within her daughter. She sat down beside her, the silence between them comfortable and understanding. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Evelyn asked gently, her voice barely more than a whisper, but filled with the weight of the impending day. "I don't know," Amara confessed, her gaze fixed on the vast expanse of sky above them. "I'm nervous, Mom. I know they'll do everything they can to tear me down, and I'm not sure if I'm strong enough to handle that." Evelyn sat down beside Amara, gently taking her hand in hers. "Amara, you faced challenges far tougher than this, and you've come through every single one of them. This is just another hurdle, and you have the truth on your side. Remember, no matter what tactics they use, no matter how they try to shake you, you know who you are. And that's something they can never take away from you." Amara inhaled deeply, letting her mother's reassuring words sink in. "I know you're right, but what if I mess it all up? What if I can't answer their questions properly, or I lose my nerve?" Evelyn squeezed her daughter's hand more firmly, her voice steady and full of conviction. "You're stronger than you realize, my dear. You've faced down fear before, and you've won. And besides, you're not going into this alone. We're all here with you, standing by your side, no matter what happens." If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 5 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. The next morning, Amara walked into the courtroom, flanked by her parents, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The room was a sea of faces: journalists, spectators, legal teams, each one intently focused on the unfolding drama. The air was thick with anticipation. She could feel the intensity of the stares, the judgment in the eyes of those who had already formed their opinions about her. The bank's lawyer, a seasoned professional with a stern expression and piercing eyes, took his place and began the interrogation with a cold precision that was intended to unsettle her. His tone was calculated, designed to rattle her composure. "Miss Davis," he began, his voice cutting through the silence, "do you acknowledge that before your trip to Switzerland, your appearance was significantly different from what it is today?" Amara felt her heart quicken, but she forced herself to remain calm, to keep her voice steady. "Yes, I admit that," she replied, maintaining her composure despite the underlying tension in the room. The lawyer leaned in slightly, his gaze narrowing as he continued his line of questioning. He was attempting to sow doubt, to paint her in a negative light, insinuating that her changes in appearance were a deliberate ploy to manipulate the situation to her advantage. But Amara stood her ground, her resolve bolstered by the knowledge that her parents were right there with her, supporting her every step of the way. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the lawyer pressed on, each question more probing than the last. But Amara knew she had to stay focused, to stay true to herself and her story. She had prepared for this moment, and even though the pressure was immense, she was determined not to let it break her. "And do you also admit that when you returned, many of those who had known you before struggled to recognize you?" the lawyer asked, his voice sharp as he paced in front of the witness stand. Amara sat upright, her hands clasped tightly together, but her gaze was steady as she responded. "That's correct," she said, her tone calm but resolute. "Some people did have difficulty recognizing me, but not my family or my closest friends. They knew who I was, regardless of how I looked." The lawyer's lips curled into a smile, as if he had found a weak point to exploit. "But how do you expect employees who have never met you before to believe that you are the legitimate heir based solely on your word?" Amara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the question settle on her shoulders. She knew this was a critical moment. "I don't expect them to recognize me by appearance alone," she replied, her voice strong, "but by the facts. I am Amara Davis, daughter of Charles and Evelyn Davis. The documents, the history, everything proves that my appearance has changed, but my identity has not." The lawyer leaned forward, clearly eager to challenge her. "So you believe that, despite your altered appearance, you should be accepted as the rightful heir simply because you claim to be?" Amara met his gaze without flinching. "It's not just a claim," she said firmly. "It's a fact. My identity is not defined by how I look, but by who I am and the evidence that supports it. My family, my history, my legal documents, they all confirm my identity. My appearance may have changed, but the truth has not." The lawyer pressed on, trying to poke holes in her testimony, but Amara remained composed. With each question, she answered with clarity and firmness, refusing to be swayed or intimidated. Her calm determination in the face of the lawyer's relentless questioning only strengthened her resolve. She was fighting for her right to be recognized for who she truly was, and she would not back down. When the interrogation finally ended, Amara felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. But alongside that weariness was a sense of relief. She knew she had done everything she could to defend her identity and her family's legacy. In the days that followed, the case attracted widespread media attention, and the story dominated headlines across the country. Public support for Amara grew as people from all walks of life reached out with messages of solidarity. Many shared their own experiences of facing discrimination and prejudice, and the outpouring of empathy only strengthened Amara's resolve. Finally, the day of the verdict arrived. The Davis family gathered in the courtroom, their faces tense with anticipation. The judge, a man with a stern expression, took his seat and began to read his ruling. The silence in the room was heavy, every word hanging in the air. After carefully reviewing all the evidence presented and considering the testimonies heard, the judge began, his voice measured. "I find that Miss Amara Davis is indeed the legitimate daughter of Charles and Evelyn Davis. As such, she has every right to be recognized as the heir and rightful owner of the bank and the other properties involved in this case." A collective sigh of relief swept through the courtroom, and Amara felt the tension in her chest finally release. She had fought for her identity, for her family, and for justice, and in that moment, she knew it had all been worth it. Amara felt a wave of relief and overwhelming emotion as the judge's words echoed through the courtroom. Furthermore, the behavior of the bank's employees, treating Miss Davis with suspicion and distrust based solely on her physical appearance, is a clear violation of civil rights. I order that the bank provide adequate compensation for the damages caused. Amara could hardly believe what she was hearing. Justice had finally been served. She turned to look at her parents, both of whom were visibly emotional, and felt an immense surge of gratitude for the unwavering support they had given her throughout this difficult journey. Evelyn, her mother, pulled her into a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. "You did it," Amara. "We did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of relief and pride. Charles, always a man of few words, simply nodded, but the pride in his eyes was unmistakable. "I'm so proud of you, my daughter," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. Amara smiled, feeling stronger and more empowered than ever before. This moment was more than just a personal victory, it was the beginning of something much larger. Her story was no longer just about seeking justice for herself, it had become a symbol of the broader fight for respect and dignity for all who face similar challenges. As they stepped out of the courthouse, they were greeted by a crowd of supporters who had gathered to witness this pivotal moment. Amara paused for a moment, taking in the faces of those who had stood by her, and realized that despite all the pain and hardship, something beautiful had emerged from her journey. She had found her voice, and now she was ready to use it to make a difference in the world. "Shall we go home?" Evelyn asked, still holding her daughter's hand, her grip both comforting and strong. "Yes," Amara replied, her voice steady and filled with a new sense of inner peace. "But this is just the first of many victories. We still have a lot of work to do." As they walked away from the courthouse, Amara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight was far from over, but she was no longer alone. She had the strength of her family, the support of the community, and, most importantly, a newfound belief in herself. With every step, she knew that this was only the beginning of her journey to create lasting change. As we wrap up this powerful story of resilience and justice, we hope you found inspiration and insight in Amara's journey. Reflecting on the challenges she faced and the triumph she achieved, we encourage you to think about what you've learned so far. What lesson or insight from Amara's experience resonates with you? Share one thing you've learned and how you plan to bring it into your own life in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and found it meaningful, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Your support helps us continue to create and share stories that matter. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Warm hugs.